Hey everybody, this is Chris. I do woodworking with only hand tools, no power tools. So today I'm going to show you the tools I use and how I set up my shop to accomplish this. Let's get started. Let's start with how I use the walls. I have lots of sharp instruments and I want to keep them out of the way of small fingers and toes. And so I installed plywood on the top half of the unfinished walls in my basement. And then I hang some of my largest tools up there. So I have my large draw knives, all the axes I use. I also have some fireman axes. I use a lot of adze for my work, especially in carving and making bowls. And many of mine have been custom made. So I'll take a piece of metal to a blacksmith that used to be a hammer or something, and they'll shape it into an adze, and then I'll make a handle for it. This is the buck I shot with my bow when I was 13 years old. The first argument I lost with my wife was we couldn't have this in the bedroom. So this is where I keep it, which is fine with me. So let's just say with all these tools I don't need to decorate for Halloween, but they're out of the way and they're safe. Let's go on to workbenches. I have three different styles. The first is this traditional woodworking bench. It's about 8 feet long, 2.5 feet wide, and the top is made from 2.5 inch thick maple. It has a leg vise and a tail vise. I'm really fortunate to have this bench. I bought it from a woman for $150. She had won it in a divorce and was just using it in her kitchen as a countertop. Now it took extensive restoration to bring this back into working order, but I'm sure it's more than 100 years old. But it's just beautiful and I love using it. This is the second style bench that I have. It's one I made myself. It's got a maple top, it's bolted to the wall, and it's got two different style vices on it. What's nice about this vise is on one side it has wood jaws. I can loosen it up, rotate it around, and on the other side it has metal jaws. Where I use my traditional woodworking bench for a lot of the heavy lifting is what I call. This is where I do a lot of my fine work, especially because I have this bright light over here. The last bench I have is one that I just made with scraps from a previous project. It's called a hewing bench, and this is a short, small, very solidly constructed bench, and it's where you do your axe work. And so you can have your wood here and chop on it, and if you hit the top of this, you really don't care. I also made an improvement to it. There's a big gap in the middle of this, and I installed this big clamp here. And then when I want to make a bowl, I can put the bowl in here based on the size, set it up, clamp it down. This holds just really tight for me. And then when I do my adze work, it's at a great angle, I have great access, and I won't wear my shoulders out. So that's my last bench. In terms of storing my small tools, I use a couple different methods. First, I like to use these stoneware crocks. They're nice and heavy, and so I can store my hammers in it and it's not going to fall over. I also use it to store miscellaneous items like gloves and brushes. I was fortunate enough to pick up this old, all-wooden library card filing cabinet at an auction. On the bottom it's really nice because it's got all these really long file drawers in it. I can store drill bits, screwdrivers, wrenches, anything that's miscellaneous or takes up a lot of long space. On the top I cut out the drawers and I installed these larger drawers. And so this is where I'll store my flat chisels, my draw knives and spoke shaves, my froze and other shaping tools, and finally my files and knives. On the workbench I also installed some drawers. So here I'll store all my carving chisels, my sharpening stones, and my planes. Then in this open area I have glue, and I store all my large mallets. So this is how I store all my small tools. When I do woodworking, I generate a lot of wood chips and dust. And so for the wood chips, I refinished this old wooden barrel. Then I made this cloth sock for it. And I put all my wood chips in here. And then when it gets full, I just pull it out and take it outside, and there I'll compost it or burn it in the fire pit. In terms of the dust, there's not a window in this part of the basement, and so I have a vent fan installed, and so when I'm doing sanding, I wear the right protective equipment, but I also open another window in the basement, and that vent fan will bring air through and take it outside. In terms of wood storage, I built this simple rack on an unfinished wall in my basement, so it really doesn't take up a lot of extra space. But I've got my boards, barn beams, camping equipment, whatever I need, I just throw on this rack. To finish the video, I want to give you a panoramic view of my shop. So we'll start with the bench that I made. You can see the tool storage on the wall around me. This is where I store my wood chips. Then you can see the traditional woodworking bench here with the tool storage. And then I have my hewing bench, and I can move that and store it wherever I want. And lastly, this is my rack of wood stored here. Hope you enjoyed it.